All right, I'm back in Photoshop looking at the original template called Flint Rainflower Crocodile.jpg. And notice that we have a couple of curlicues that we need to deal with. One is this line that represents the nostril and the screecher snout. And we also have a blue snout going. Notice that I'm not going to render the snout in blue because I think it ends up making the crocodile look like a dog. And I want this crocodile to look like a mean serpent. So we're going to leave that area green, but we do need the nostril line. And then we've got a little bit of a curl descending here into the brow as well. So the question becomes, is that curl part of the larger path outline? So in other words, where the big green face path is concerned, does the shape start right about here and then pursue along into the mouth, down around the jaw, back up again, and then end in this curlicue? Or do we add the curl afterwards in the form of a separate path? Well, where the brow is concerned, it's going to have to be a separate path because notice that this endpoint, that's one of the endpoints right there, and this would be the other endpoint. When Illustrator goes to fill this open path, let's say, then it's going to cut across these two endpoints. It's going to go ahead and pretend that there's a straight segment between them, and that will leave a little bit of a reveal right there. We'll have a little bit of a crack in the path at this location. Whereas where the large green path is concerned, the big green face path, we'll have one endpoint at this location, another endpoint at this location. That means the two cut through right there. That's going to be the end of the fill. But we've got this other piece of fill overlapping around it, so we should be safe. All right, so I'm just trying to give you a sense of the various approaches you might take here. I'm going to switch back over to Illustrator now. And I've saved my progress as readyforcurls.ai, found inside that 09 pen tool folder. And let's start by adding the curl for the brow shape. I'm going to press Control-Y or Command-Y in a Mac in order to switch to the outline mode. And then I'll press the P key to switch to the pen tool. And I'll begin dragging at this point right there. And I've got a little X next to my pen tool cursor because I'm hovering over a deselected path outline. So I'll just drag like so. And then I'll add a smooth point at this location. Might use the space bar to position it a little better. And then I'll drag here as well so that we have just a little bit of a curling path outline. Then I'll press the A key in order to switch to the arrow tool. And what I want to do is I want to confirm that these points are at a similar angle. And when I marqueed around those anchor points, I did not select this segment right here because those spikes are currently locked down. So both rear spikes and top spikes are locked pursuant to a previous exercise. All right, so notice that this control handle right there, that represents, I believe, the curlicue that I just drew. And if I marquee around again, this control handle represents the top of the brow. I'll go ahead and undo that. Once you start dragging a control handle, by the way, any points or segments that are associated with a totally different path outline become deselected. So that's part of what I'm experiencing right here. I'm going to drag around there again. Go ahead and marquee those points. And I just want to confirm that these control handles are right on top of each other. And that will ensure that I have a smooth arc between these completely different path outlines because these guys are in alignment. All right, so let's check out what it looks like. Control-Y, Command-Y in a Mac. Looks totally wrong. And there's a couple of reasons for that. I'll press the V key in order to switch to the black arrow tool, click off, click on the curl to select it. A couple of problems. Let's go and zoom in. One is that I've got to fill. And there's that connection that I was talking about where Illustrator goes ahead and pretends the endpoints are connected with the straight segment and fills it accordingly. I don't want to fill. So I'll go ahead and switch to none, or I could press the slash key if I liked. The other problem is my stroke is too thick. So it has a line weight of 3 points. Well, the brow only has a line weight of 2 points, so that's not going to work. I'll go ahead and switch that guy down to 2 points like so. And that ends up looking just great. Now notice that I have a round cap. You may not. And if not, go ahead and expand your stroke panel and go ahead and set the cap value to round cap, like so. That way, you're ending in a little bit of a ball as opposed to butt cap, which looks like this, and I don't think looks nearly as good. All right, so I'll switch over to round cap. I may go ahead and adjust this point just a little bit. I'll press the A key in order to switch to the white arrow tool. Then I'll marquee this point to select it. Let's go and drag this out a little bit. I just want to smooth things up so that we don't have that crinkle right at that location. And that ends up looking pretty good. Again, I'm subscribing to the rule that you have 2 control handles associated with any curving segment, and the control handles take up about 2/3 the length of the segment. So that's working out very nicely. Might lift this guy up just a little bit like so. All right, so now let's check out the snout this time around. And it's a little more difficult to align a new path outline with the existing one because that existing path outline was created using that spline technique. And so the points aren't really on the path outline, which is going to present something of a problem since the anchor points are exactly on a path outline when you're using Bezier type curves. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and stick with that spline curve model by extending our existing spline curve, which I had showed you right at the outset is going to work out beautifully for this specific path. And that will be our combined assignment in the next exercise.